What's up guys? Today I'm gonna show you how do you build the aquarium chiller by using the car freezer. The car freezer I'm using is an ice cold freezer, and let me show you how it works. So all you need to do is to circulate the water inside the freezer. So now the tank water temperature is 72.5 degrees, okay? And let's see, after the water passes through the refrigerator, the temperature becomes 71 degrees. So the differential cools down the fish tank.
Alright, before we start, figure out the best solution for you. Notice that our goal is to cool down multiple tanks. So if you just have one tank and are not thinking about scaling up, you'll probably just get a water chiller. Now, I list a couple of solutions for your reference. You can keep your AC on 24/7 if you don't care about the electricity bills. Or you can use a centralized system where multiple tanks share just one aquarium chiller. But if you mess up the water, it's possible that you are going to lose all of your tanks. If you have enough budget, you can create independent systems. For example, if you have 3 tanks, you just get 3 water chillers so that you can have independent loops. But the cost really add up very quick, as a decent water chiller costs around $300. The last solution is the one I'm going to try. I'm going to build the aquarium chiller by a car freezer so that I can put multiple independent loops inside the cooling space of the freezer. That's how I scale up. It's more affordable, as I will show you. The whole project costs around $300. Here are the things you need. I use an ice cold T12 car freezer to build this project. Itself costs around $200. So the rest of the things really don't cost much. You need a box with the size slightly smaller than the cooling space of the freezer. You need a pump. I suggest you get an adjustable one, as you are gonna fine-tune the flow rate to get the result you want. The one I use, the flow rate is around 120 gallons per hour, and it's an adjustable one. You need some tube, and you are going to need a temperature switch to control the pump. So when the temperature is higher than the setting value, the pump starts working to pump the water into the freezer. You need a water cooling block as a heat exchanger, one for input, the other one for output. As the water flows through the heat exchanger, it releases extra heat. So now I'm going to show you how I build it.
Here's how I implement it. So you're gonna bring the water inside the cooler. So you need to drill 2 holes, one for input, one for output. And inside the cooler, let's take a look. So I got a box. I have some water as water bath. And you know, when I close the cooler, the whole heat exchanger is soaked in the cool water. So that's how you cool down your aquarium water. I put a bottle of water inside, simply I want to bring the water level up. You don't really need that much water volume as long as the whole heat exchanger is soaked in the water. So I only have one for now. I'm going to show you how it works. So as you can see, you don't need a very low temperature. I just set the temperature of my freezer to be around freezing temperature. The main idea is to keep the water around freezing point, and I figure out that's good enough for my 10-gallon tank. I imagine that if you have bigger tank or more tanks, you need to adjust this temperature setting to have the result you want. Let's get it wrong. Here's the temperature controller. It's a decent one that costs only 15 bucks. I put the link in the description. It's equipped with a temperature sensor that goes into your water. And now it's in the cooling mode, so whenever the water temperature is higher than the setting value, the switch is turned on. I'm going to plug my motor into the switch. Notice that I'm only turning on and off on the motor, not the compressor. In that way, I'll simply let my freezer does its job without worrying about turning it on and off too frequently. Let's set it up. First is the maximum temperature difference. The smaller this value is, the more stable your environment is. But then, as the traditional way to set up the aquarium chiller, you are going to turn on and turn off the compressor more frequently. So that's bad to the compressor. But since I'm only controlling my motor, so I don't have to worry about it. This is the delay in seconds. Again, it's for protecting your compressor. Now it's set to 30 seconds, but you know, for my implementation, I really don't have to worry about it. So now the water temperature is around 72 degrees. I wanna bring it down to, let's say, 70.5. Yeah, that's good enough. So 30 seconds later, it's going to turn on the motor. So how it works is that, oh, you see, now the motor is turned on. The motor is going to drive the water into the circulation, passes through the aluminum heat exchanger, soaking the water bath, and then brings the water back. So as long as there is a temperature difference, then it's cooling down the water. Let's take a measure. So now the tank water temperature is around 72 degrees. Let's see how much is being cooled down after you travel back to the tank. So it's 71.5. So the difference is tricky. The more they differ, the faster you cool down your water, but your shrimps might not like it. So you need to do some experiments on trial and error. But I really like the system. This system is very, very flexible. You can control 2 variables to increase or decrease the temperature difference. First of all, it's your flow rate of your motor. So when you get the motor, I suggest you get a tunable one, so you can tune the flow up or down. From my experiment, I feel like the flow rate is just enough to create the temperature difference, and that's the best, because you don't want the water go through the heat exchanger too fast. You want the water stay in the heat exchanger as longer as possible, so that the heat exchanger can do its job. You can also control the temperature of your car freezer. So as you see, I set it around the freezing point. I feel like it's good enough for my 10-gallon tank. If you have larger tank or more tanks, you probably need to do some experiment. Or let's say in a very hot day, you probably want to set your freezer a little bit closer to the maximum capacity, which is 0 Fahrenheit. So this is my system. Let's check how much it cools down the temperature later. Roughly 15 minutes later, the temperature has reached the target temperature, which is 70.5 degrees. As you can see, now the motor stopped and the water circulation has stopped as well. I still feel like it's too quick. What a drastic change to my little shrimp here. I think my shrimp is not liking it. I only put one inside for testing. Ideally, I would like to bring down 1.5 degrees within 1 hour. So that would be the best case. So I think I need some adjustment.
After running for a few days, there's an issue. Since the water is not freezing, the humidity causes a lot of frost that makes the freezer less efficient as it used to be. You can lower down the temperature to make sure that the water is always as freezed as ice. However, to have a peace of mind, I'm going to add a cover that even if water vaporizes, the cover is going to catch the humidity. So all you need is drill a couple of holes on the lid. I drill more holes because I have another tank. And just make sure that it's snug fit with your tube. And then you put back your water block, close the lid, and let the tube go through, and put it back to the freezer. And you are good to go. Since then, it's been working as expected.
As my project, I'm going to set up another 2 tanks, so 3 in total. If I would use a traditional aquarium chiller, I'm gonna need 3 chillers that cost me more than 700 bucks. But as you can see, this project only has 1 centralized cooler. The whole thing costs less than 250 bucks. I'll put every link in the description for your reference. If you like this idea, please subscribe to our channel. As I said, I'm going to set up the other 2 tanks, so I'll share with you later. See you next time.